They say people can vanish in plain sight, not by magic, just by neglect. Funny how fast the world will look right past you when you're old, when you're a little dirty, when your story's gotten tangled and frayed. That's what they did to Jeremiah Cole. They laughed at him for his torn coat, whispered about the smell, crossed the street when he showed up, you know the type. Just another bum, right? Nobody worth a second glance. Yeah, that's what they thought. And let me tell you, they couldn't have been more wrong. See, nobody knew the man beneath that ragged cap, the life stuffed in that battered duffel metal, scars, stories so heavy you'd need a convoy to carry them. They didn't know about the night he ran through mortar fire, or the way he pulled someone from the wreckage who'd one day become a judge in the very courtroom about to decide if Jeremiah deserved a second chance. They didn't know any of that. Why would they? Folks are quick to judge, slow to ask. That morning in Charleston, the sky hung low, heavy like wet laundry, the kind that never seems to dry, no matter how long you leave it out. Jeremiah trudged up those courthouse steps, rain soaking straight through his coat, leaving muddy footprints that nobody wanted to follow. When he pushed through the doors, dragging his old bag behind, it was like the whole place shrank away from him, people clutching their pearls, suits wrinkling their noses, whispering jokes behind their hands. Smells like something crawled in and died, one muttered. His friend snorted, might have been him. You get used to that kind of talk after a while. Jeremiah didn't blink. He just kept moving, every step a little slower than the last. Security barely looked at him. Hot tough. Bag 2. He hesitated. That bag was his life. But he slid it forward, hands shaking, like he knew once it left his grip, he might never see it again. They shoved it aside, waved him through, didn't care about anything but keeping their hands clean. Inside the courtroom, the hush was immediate. Even the judge, old Maurice Denon, face like carved stone, barely glanced Jeremiah's way. Assistant DA Camden Walsh started in, slick as an oil spill, talking about efficiency, about how Jeremiah was a threat to public order. He attacked a mall security officer, Camden said, raising his hands like a preacher. And sure, he served in Desert Storm, but past service doesn't grant immunity. The gallery murmured. Half of them couldn't pick out Baghdad on a map, but everyone loves a villain. Jeremiah's public defender was new, young, voice shaking, barely looked at him. My client seeks leniency, she said, like she was reading from a manual. When Jeremiah tried to protest, Camden cut him off. Spare us, Mr. Cole. Take a number like everyone else. The judge hammered his gavel, told everyone to settle down, but the damage was done. Jeremiah sat, silent, alone. Off in a corner, a deputy named Noah Alvarez watched, eyes narrowing. Something about the name Cole rattled around his brain. He glanced at the battered duffel bag left out in the rain, the old military patches, the haunted look in Jeremiah's eyes. He leaned to a clerk. What's his name again? Jeremiah Cole. It hit Alvarez like déjà vu, but he couldn't place it just yet. After sentencing, Jeremiah found himself shuffled into a prison van, wrists raw from the cuffs, silent between two guards who never bothered to look him in the eye. The prison was a slab of gray concrete and razor wire, indifferent to age, to history, to sacrifice. Intake guards joked, "You sure you're not lost, Grandpa? Were you in for public breathing?" Laughter bounced off glass windows. The only answer Jeremiah gave was his name, barely louder than a whisper. His cellmate was Kyle Renshaw, all tattoos and attitude. "So, you're the hero they sent to keep me company?" He grinned. "Didn't think they still made your type." Jeremiah just wanted to rest, but rest is in short supply in places like that. That night, lying on the metal bunk, he pressed his hand to the dog tag sewn into his coat, tracing the name that nobody remembered. Jeremiah Cole. He breathed into the darkness. Just a name, but it used to mean something. The next morning, prison woke with a clang. Jeremiah shuffled to breakfast, ignored, his food as gray and flavorless as the walls. A group of younger inmates circled him, led by Kyle looking for a show. One slammed a tray into his chest, another knocked his bread to the floor. "What's the matter, Sarge?" "Out of fight." They shoved him down, blood trickling from his temple, laughter echoing as guards turned away. Jeremiah didn't rise quickly sometimes. It's easier to stay down. But he did get up, and when he limped back to his cell, Deputy Alvarez was posting new labor assignments. "You okay?" he asked. Jeremiah only nodded, the kind that means no, but I'll survive. Alvarez wanted to say more, but the moment passed. Infirmary smelled like bleach and regret. Nurse Lorraine Baxter, gruff but kind, cleaned Jeremiah's cut, eyes catching the scars on his arms. "You been in the wars?" she asked. "Desert Storm. Iron Vultures." She froze. Her cousin had served with them, Frank Benton. "You dragged him from a Humvee," she whispered. Jeremiah nodded. "He said you saved his life. He died last year," she added, her voice thick. Jeremiah only stared at his hands. Before he left, Lorraine pressed extra gauze into his palm. "You need a place to sit. I'll find you a corner." Kindness, rare as rain in the desert. Alvarez did some digging military records, old citations, a silver star for valor. Gilles Cole, hero on paper, ghost in reality. Alvarez picked up the phone, called the court's evidence locker. "You got a bag for a man who doesn't belong here." The night shift supervisor groaned, but something about the way Alvarez said it made them pause. Days passed. Rain came and went, muddying the yard, the memory. Jeremiah kept his head down, but news was moving elsewhere. In a downtown office, Alvarez stared at a scan document. Army commendation, signed by a familiar name, Maurice Denton. Alvarez called the judge's office, left a message. "Jeremiah Cole, pulled you from rubble in Desert Storm. July 91, New Demia Outpost. If that means anything, call me back." At the courthouse, Judge Denton's secretary handed him the message. Denton stopped cold, the color draining from his face. Suddenly, he was back in the sand, chaos and blood, a stranger's hands dragging him to safety. He never knew the man's name until now. "Cancel my docket," he ordered. "Give me Cole's full file." That same afternoon, prison staff announced, "Inmate Cole immediate transfer." Court summons. Nobody explained, but as Jeremiah was let out, Deputy Alvarez handed him a navy coat. "It's cold out," he said quietly. "You want to walk in on your own terms." For the first time, Jeremiah looked up, almost daring to hope. Reporters were waiting at the courthouse, not jeering, but silent, respectful. Judge Denton met Jeremiah in the hallway, plain clothes, hands shaking. He approached, holding a manila folder, and in front of everyone knelt. "It was you," Denton choked out. "You pulled me from that crater. I sentenced you, never knowing." The courtroom gasped, the world shifted. Denton stood, face wet, and turned to the clerk. "Vacate the conviction. Expunge the record. Return his property. Add his name to the Hall of Honor." As Jeremiah clutched his duffel medals, photos, all that was left of a lifetime, a tear slipped down the clerk's cheek. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Jeremiah just nodded, because what do you say when you've been seen for the first time in decades? A week later, golden light streamed through the Hall of Honor, every seat filled. Judge Denton spoke. "We're not just honoring a soldier, we're confronting our silence. We failed to see a hero right in front of us." He stepped down, saluted Jeremiah, and slowly, the whole crowd followed. Civilians, kids, old generals. Jeremiah stood, hands trembling, voice rough. "I'm not special. I just wanted someone to remember I was here." He looked out, eyes meeting the crowd. "And now you do." Outside, schoolboys stared at the new plaque. "Who was he?" one asked. "A man they almost forgot." "Until they didn't," the other replied. And in the sunlight, Jeremiah Cole sat on a bench, not a ghost, not a punchline, just a man, finally seen. So now I gotta ask you, what would you have done? Do you think justice was really served? Or is there still something broken in how we treat each other? Drop your thoughts below, and let's talk about what's right, what's wrong, and who gets to decide who matters in the end. You know what I mean?